Mayday, Mayday. This is Coast Guard Station Point Reyes. We have an unidentified object on radar.
At 11:47 Greenwich Mean Time on June 18, 2023, the United States Coast Guard received a transmission that would forever change how we understand the depths of the North Atlantic. The voice crackling through the static belonged to Captain Marcus Webb, commanding officer of the support vessel Polar Prince, positioned 370 nautical miles southeast of Newfoundland. Coast Guard Station Boston, this is Polar Prince. We have lost all communication with submersible Titan. Last contact was at 10:02 Greenwich Mean Time. Request immediate assistance. What followed was the most intensive deep-sea search and rescue operation in maritime history. But the official reports, the media coverage, the congressional hearings, they all missed the most crucial detail. This wasn't the first time a submersible had vanished at these exact coordinates. The Titan was a carbon fiber composite submersible operated by OceanGate Expeditions, designed for tourist visits to the Titanic wreck site. At 6.7 meters long and weighing 10,432 kilograms, it represented cutting-edge civilian deep-sea technology. The pressure vessel was rated for depths up to 4,000 meters, with a theoretical safety factor of 2.25, well within operational parameters for the 3,800-meter descent to the Titanic's final resting place. 5 souls were aboard that morning. OceanGate's O. Stockton Rush serving as pilot, British billionaire Hamish Harding, Pakistani businessman Shahzada Dawood and his 19-year-old son Suleiman, and French maritime expert Paul-Henri Nargeolet. Their oxygen supply was calculated for 96 hours, 4 days of life support in the crushing darkness of the abyssal zone. The dive began at 8 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time under optimal conditions. Sea state was calm at force 2, with surface winds holding steady at 12 knots from the southwest. Water temperature at the surface measured 14 degrees Celsius, dropping to the expected 2 degrees Celsius at depth. The Titan's acoustic positioning system maintained regular contact with Polar Prince through a series of pre-programmed text message pings transmitted every 15 minutes. At 9:45 Greenwich Mean Time, the submersible reached 3,200 meters depth, approximately 600 meters above the ocean floor. The final text message received read, "All good here. Proceeding to wreck site. 30 minutes. Standard protocol. Routine communication. Nothing that would suggest the horror about to unfold." Then silence. The acoustic positioning system, designed to function reliably at depths up to 6,000 meters, simply stopped transmitting. No distress signal. No emergency beacon activation. No indication of system failure or hull breach. The Titan had vanished as completely as if it had never existed. Captain Webb initiated emergency protocols immediately. Within 6 hours, the Coast Guard had mobilized assets including the C-130 Hercules aircraft, P-8 Poseidon submarine hunters, and the Canadian Coast Guard vessel Coppet Hobson 1752. By June 20th, the search area covered 10,000 square nautical miles, employing deep-sea ROVs capable of operating at crushing depths where human lungs would collapse in milliseconds. But here's what the investigators never told the families, never included in their 55-page final report, never mentioned during the Coast Guard's public hearings. The coordinates where Titan disappeared 41 degrees 44 minutes 12 seconds north, 49 degrees 56 minutes 49 seconds west, had been flagged in classified naval databases since 1985. 12 submersibles, both military and civilian, had encountered technical difficulties within a 2.3 nautical mile radius of that exact position over the past 4 decades. The water temperature readings from that day also contained an anomaly that oceanographers couldn't explain. At 3,800 meters depth, thermal sensors detected a localized warm zone measuring 4 degrees Celsius above ambient temperature, impossible according to established thermocline models for the region. The area measured roughly 200 meters in diameter, creating a thermal signature that defied every known principle of deep ocean physics. When the debris field was finally located on June 22, scattered across the seafloor 1,600 feet from the Titanic's bow, the forensic analysis revealed something that made veteran crash investigators request immediate psychiatric evaluation. The titanium components showed signs of accelerated corrosion that should have taken decades to develop. Electronic systems displayed evidence of electromagnetic interference so severe that circuit boards had been fused into unrecognizable masses. But the most disturbing discovery came from the Titan's emergency data recorder, a device designed to survive pressures exceeding 1,000 atmospheres. When analysts finally extracted its contents, they found 47 seconds of audio that changed everything. 47 seconds that revealed this was never just an accident. But what the investigation official never revealed was that this wasn't the first submarine to disappear at these exact coordinates. And the naval records held a secret dating back to 1985, when a young sonar technician named Morrison first heard the sounds coming from the deep sounds that would haunt him for the next 40 years, until the day the Titan's wreckage was found in the same place where he had lost 3 men from his crew. The classified files began surfacing in 1987, 2 years after Petty Officer Second Class David Morrison first reported acoustic anomalies during a routine sonar sweep aboard the USS Thresher's sister ship, USS Permit SSN 594. The coordinates were logged as 41 degrees 44 minutes north, 49 degrees 57 minutes west, the same position where the Titan would vanish 38 years later. Morrison's incident report, declassified through a Freedom of Information Act request in 2019, detailed a contact that naval intelligence initially dismissed as Soviet submarine activity. At 23:47 hours on November 15, 1985, while conducting deepwater acoustic surveillance 400 nautical miles southeast of Newfoundland, Morrison detected what he described as rhythmic metallic impacts emanating from approximately 4,000 meters depth. The signature didn't match any known submarine propulsion system. Soviet nuclear boats produced distinct cavitation patterns, easily identifiable to trained sonar operators. This was different, a steady percussion that registered on both passive and active sonar arrays, creating acoustic returns that seemed to originate from multiple sources simultaneously. It sounded like construction work, Morrison wrote in his official statement. Like someone was building something down there with heavy machinery. But at that depth, in water temperatures that would kill a man in seconds, it made no sense. The USS Permit's commanding officer, Captain James Richardson, ordered a course change to investigate. Standard protocol for potential foreign incursions required immediate classification and reporting to fleet intelligence. But as the submarine approached the coordinates, their sonar contact simply vanished, leaving behind thermal readings that contradicted known oceanographic data for the region. Morrison's experience wasn't isolated. A comprehensive review of naval intelligence archives reveals a pattern stretching back to 1963, when the original USS Thresher was lost during deep diving tests. Official records blamed catastrophic flooding due to a silver-brazed joint failure, but classified communications between Komsomolets and the Pentagon mention external interference that prevented successful emergency blow procedures. The Soviet Navy experienced similar losses. In March 1989, the nuclear submarine K-278 Komsomolets suffered a fire in the engine compartment while operating in the Norwegian Sea. The official investigation cited electrical malfunction, but intercepted communications between Soviet rescue vessels, decoded by NSA station Sugar Grove, referenced unknown contacts detected prior to the emergency. Captain Boris Kaliata, the Komsomolets' surviving executive officer, provided testimony to the International Maritime Organization that was immediately classified. According to leaked portions of his debrief, sonar operators detected artificial echoes at depths exceeding 6,000 meters in the hours before the fire broke out. The acoustic signature matched no known biological or geological phenomena. Between 1963 and 2023, 12 submersibles encountered what naval records euphemistically termed technical difficulties within the target zone. The USS Scorpion SSN 589, lost with all hands in May 1968, transmitted its final message from coordinates approximately 89 nautical miles northwest of the Titan's disappearance site. Acoustic analysis of the wreckage revealed hull damage inconsistent with internal explosion or torpedo impact. The civilian casualties began appearing in the 1990s as deep-sea tourism expanded. The French submersible Naval experienced catastrophic electrical failures during a 1994 Titanic expedition, forcing emergency surface procedures that left 2 crew members with severe decompression injuries. The Japanese research vessel Shinkai 6500 lost all external lighting systems during a 1998 geological survey, creating a near-fatal navigation emergency at 3,500 meters depth. Each incident shared common characteristics that investigators consistently overlooked or classified. Electromagnetic interference preceding mechanical failures. Thermal anomalies detected in surrounding water masses. Acoustic contacts that appeared and vanished without correlation to known marine life or geological activity. Dr. Margaret Chin, a civilian oceanographer contracted by the Navy Research Laboratory, compiled the first comprehensive analysis in 2001. Her classified report, obtained through congressional oversight, documented temperature variations up to 6 degrees Celsius above ambient readings within a 200-meter radius of coordinates 41 degrees 44 minutes north, 49 degrees 57 minutes west. The thermal signature remained consistent across different seasons and weather conditions, suggesting an artificial heat source of considerable magnitude. Chen's findings led to the establishment of Operation Deep Echo, a joint Navy-NOAA initiative officially tasked with enhanced acoustic monitoring of critical shipping lanes. In reality, Deep Echo maintained continuous surveillance of the anomaly zone using a network of hydrophone arrays and autonomous underwater vehicles. The operation's existence remained classified until 2018, when budget appropriations documents accidentally included funding line items for specialized deep-water recovery assets, stationed at Naval Station Argentia in Newfoundland. Congressional inquiries revealed that Deep Echo had conducted 127 recovery missions between 2002 and 2017, retrieving debris from 14 separate incidents that never appeared in Coast Guard or Transport Canada databases. Morrison, now retired and living in Norfolk, Virginia, served as a technical consultant for Deep Echo until 2019. His final report, submitted 3 months before the Titan expedition, warned that contact frequency and intensity have increased measurably since 2015, suggesting escalation in whatever process is occurring at depth. The report recommended immediate establishment of a 5 nautical mile exclusion zone around the coordinates, citing unacceptable risk to civilian vessels and personnel. The recommendation was filed but never implemented. Budget constraints and jurisdictional disputes between American and Canadian authorities prevented enforcement of restrictions in international waters. Morrison carried that burden for 40 years, watching civilian expeditions venture into waters he knew were compromised. When news of the Titan's disappearance reached him on June 18, 2023, he made a phone call that would change everything, a call to his former commanding officer, now Admiral Richardson, revealing details that had been classified since the Reagan administration. Because Morrison had never forgotten the sound that night in 1985. A rhythmic percussion that seemed almost purposeful, emanating from depths where nothing should survive. A sound that appeared in acoustic logs from every subsequent incident, growing stronger with each passing year, as if something down there was becoming more active, more confident, more willing to make its presence known. Admiral Richardson received Morrison's call at 14:30 hours on June 19, 2023, exactly 24 hours after the Titan's final transmission. Within 6 hours, a classified operation designated Broken Arrow Deep was activated under the authority of USNOAA, mobilizing assets that officially didn't exist in public military inventories. The Broken Arrow classification, typically reserved for incidents involving nuclear weapons, had been quietly expanded in 1987 to include recovery of sensitive materials from inaccessible locations. In practice, this meant anything the Pentagon wanted to keep buried stayed buried, regardless of civilian casualties or international law. Captain Elena Vasquez, commanding officer of the deep-sea research vessel USS Pathfinder, received sealed orders at 2200 hours while docked at Naval Station Norfolk. Her crew of 43 specialists represented the most advanced underwater recovery capability in the American military, experts in deep-sea robotics, acoustic warfare, and what Pentagon briefings euphemistically called anomalous contact protocols. The Pathfinder deployed with equipment never acknowledged in official Navy inventories. 2 Nereid under-ice autonomous underwater vehicles, rated for depths exceeding 11,000 meters and equipped with manipulator arms capable of handling objects weighing up to 2,000 kilograms. Advanced synthetic aperture sonar systems originally developed for mapping Soviet submarine bases beneath Arctic ice. And most significantly, a prototype communication array designed to function in environments where conventional radio waves failed completely. Vasquez had commanded similar operations before. Her service record, heavily redacted in official personnel files, included deployments to coordinates that didn't appear on any civilian navigation charts. She understood the protocols: complete information compartmentalization, communications limited to encrypted burst transmissions, and absolute denial of mission existence regardless of congressional inquiry or media pressure. The Pathfinder reached the target coordinates at 6:15 Greenwich Mean Time on June 21, establishing position precisely 2.7 nautical miles northwest of the official Coast Guard search area. This displacement was intentional, close enough to monitor civilian recovery efforts, far enough to avoid detection by news media or international observers documenting the Titan rescue operation. Chief Petty Officer Michael Chen, the Pathfinder's senior sonar technician, had served aboard the vessel for 6 years without fully understanding the nature of their missions. Chen possessed security clearances that allowed access to information classified above top secret, but operational details remained compartmentalized even among the crew. At 8:42 Greenwich Mean Time, Chen detected the first anomalous contact. His sonar display showed a massive return approximately 300 meters in diameter, situated at 4,180 meters depth. The signature exhibited characteristics that violated established principles of underwater acoustics, reflective properties suggesting metallic construction, but with acoustic absorption patterns that indicated internal spaces filled with gas rather than water. "Captain," Chen reported over the internal communication system, "I'm showing a large stationary contact bearing 127 degrees relative, range 3,200 yards. Configuration unknown, but it's definitely artificial." Vasquez reviewed the sonar display personally, comparing the readings to classified databases maintained by naval intelligence. The contact matched signatures detected during previous Broken Arrow deep operations, but the size exceeded anything in their historical records. Previous contacts had measured between 50 and 150 meters maximum dimension. This was twice the size of the USS Nimitz. The first Nereid EUV was deployed at 10:15 Greenwich Mean Time, programmed for autonomous descent to 4,000 meters depth. The vehicle carried high-resolution cameras, magnetometer arrays, and water sampling equipment capable of detecting trace chemical signatures from ranges exceeding 500 meters. Its mission parameters included strict instructions to maintain minimum approach distance of 100 meters from any unidentified contacts. At 11:27 Greenwich Mean Time, the AUV transmitted its first close-range images. The photographs revealed a cylindrical structure approximately 270 meters in length, constructed from materials that reflected sonar waves in patterns suggesting advanced metallurgy. The surface exhibited no marine growth despite obvious age indicators in surrounding sediment deposits. Most significantly, portions of the structure emitted faint illumination visible in low-light photography. Chen's acoustic monitoring detected immediate changes in ambient water conditions as the AUV approached. Water temperature increased 3.7 degrees Celsius within a 200-meter radius of the structure. Electromagnetic readings spiked across multiple frequency ranges, creating interference patterns that disrupted the vehicle's navigation systems. Most disturbing, hydrophone arrays registered acoustic transmissions originating from the structure itself, regular pulses in frequency ranges typically associated with active sonar systems. "It knows we're here," Chen reported to Captain Vasquez. "The thing is scanning us." The second Nereid was deployed with different mission parameters, electromagnetic warfare capabilities designed to disrupt foreign surveillance systems. As the vehicle descended toward the structure, its countermeasures suite activated automatically, responding to detection by what onboard computers classified as hostile acquisition radar. At 13:45 Greenwich Mean Time, both AUVs simultaneously lost communications with the Pathfinder. Their acoustic positioning beacons continued transmitting for 14 minutes before falling silent. Recovery procedures were immediately initiated, but sonar contact with the vehicles was never re-established. Two pieces of military hardware worth $47 million each had simply vanished. The loss triggered implementation of Protocol 7, immediate withdrawal from the operational area and activation of information containment procedures. All personnel aboard the Pathfinder signed enhanced non-disclosure agreements carrying potential criminal penalties under the Espionage Act. Mission records were transferred to a secure facility at NSA headquarters in Fort Meade, where they joined files from 47 previous Broken Arrow deep operations. Captain Vasquez submitted her final report on June 23, 2023, 2 days after civilian authorities announced discovery of the Titan's debris field. Her conclusions were classified at the highest levels of military intelligence. Contact represents technology of unknown origin, demonstrating capabilities that exceed current human engineering. Recommend immediate establishment of permanent exclusion zone and suspension of all civilian deep-sea operations in target area. The recommendation was implemented through unofficial channels. Insurance companies began refusing coverage for submersible operations. Near the Titanic wreck site, citing elevated risk assessments based on recent incidents. Tourism operators received discreet warnings about unstable geological conditions that made deep-sea excursions inadvisable. Within 6 months, civilian traffic to the area had ceased entirely. But Chin never forgot the sonar readings from that day. The structure hadn't just been monitoring their approach, it had been communicating. The acoustic pulses followed mathematical patterns suggesting intelligence, purpose, and most unsettling of all, recognition. As if whatever built that installation had been waiting for human contact, studying their technology, learning from each encounter. Because the files that Admiral Richardson finally declassified revealed the truth Morrison had suspected for decades. Every submarine, every submersible, every deep-sea vehicle that vanished in those waters had been taken deliberately. Not destroyed by accident or equipment failure, but collected by something that understood human technology well enough to disable it without leaving evidence of external intervention. Something that was still down there, still learning, still waiting for the next opportunity to add to its collection of human engineering and human souls. The debris field discovery on June 22 marked the beginning of the most intensive forensic investigation in maritime history. But what the Coast Guard announced publicly represented less than 15% of the material actually recovered from the ocean floor. The remaining evidence disappeared into a classified analysis program that would challenge everything investigators thought they knew about deep-sea engineering failures. Dr. Sarah Martinez, chief metallurgist for the Naval Research Laboratory, received the first titanium samples at 4:30 Greenwich Mean Time on June 24. Her laboratory at the Washington Navy Yard had analyzed wreckage from 3 previous Broken Arrow deep operations, but nothing had prepared her for the molecular-level anomalies present in the Titan's pressure hull fragments. Under electron microscopy, the titanium alloy exhibited crystalline structures that shouldn't exist in nature. The metal had been exposed to temperatures exceeding 3,000 degrees Celsius, impossible at oceanic depths where ambient temperature remained constant at 2 degrees Celsius. More disturbing, spectrographic analysis revealed isotopic ratios indicating exposure to electromagnetic radiation in frequencies associated with particle accelerator technology. The metal was cooked from the inside out, Martinez reported in her classified preliminary findings. Whatever caused this failure generated enough focused energy to alter the atomic structure of a titanium-aluminum-vanadium alloy rated for 15,000 psi external pressure. The pressure hull fragments told only part of the story. Electronic components recovered from the debris field showed signs of interference that transcended conventional electromagnetic warfare capabilities. Circuit boards had been fused into glass-like structures, but with microscopic patterns suggesting controlled energy application rather than random electrical surge. Tony Breck, a Navy deep-sea recovery specialist with 18 years of experience in underwater salvage operations, led the team that retrieved the Titan's emergency systems module. His diving logs, obtained through congressional oversight, contained observations that never appeared in official Coast Guard documentation. The carbon fiber hull was cut, Breck stated in his classified debrief. Not imploded, not crushed by water pressure. Cut with precision tools that left molecular-level smooth surfaces along fracture lines. Someone or something had dissected that submersible like a laboratory specimen. Breck's photography of the debris field revealed additional anomalies. The wreckage was distributed in a pattern inconsistent with catastrophic implosion at depth. Instead of random scatter typical of pressure vessel failure, components appeared to have been deliberately arranged on the seafloor. Larger pieces formed a rough circle approximately 80 meters in diameter, with smaller fragments positioned at mathematically precise intervals. The most significant discovery came from the Titan's emergency beacon system, a device designed to survive pressures exceeding 20,000 psi and continue transmitting for up to 30 days after activation. The beacon had been recovered intact, its titanium housing unmarked by the forces that destroyed the rest of the submersible. Data extraction revealed that the beacon had activated automatically at 10:47 Greenwich Mean Time on June 18, 45 minutes after the Titan's final communication with the surface. For the next 47 minutes and 23 seconds, the device recorded acoustic and electromagnetic signatures from its position on the ocean floor. The acoustic recordings contained sounds that challenged fundamental assumptions about deep-sea environments. In addition to the expected ambient noise of ocean currents and distant marine life, the beacon captured mechanical sounds, rhythmic impacts, hydraulic pressure releases, and what acoustics experts classified as tool operation in liquid medium. But the electromagnetic data proved even more disturbing. The beacon's sensors detected energy signatures consistent with active radar scanning, followed by focused microwave emissions that systematically probed the device's internal components. Whatever had examined the Titan's wreckage possessed technology capable of non-destructive analysis at the molecular level. Dr. Kevin Park, a forensic acoustics specialist contracted by the FBI, spent 200 hours analyzing the beacon's final recordings. His classified report, submitted to the Joint Navy Coast Guard Investigation Board, contained conclusions that resulted in immediate reclassification of the entire Titan incident under national security protocols. The acoustic signatures indicate presence of multiple artificial sound sources operating in coordinated patterns, Park wrote. Analysis suggests automated systems conducting systematic examination of debris field contents. Most significantly, the recordings contain vocalization patterns consistent with human speech, but in frequency ranges below normal hearing thresholds. The vocalizations appeared at 14 to 28 Hz, a frequency range that human vocal cords cannot produce without technological assistance. Spectrographic analysis revealed linguistic structures suggesting communication between multiple entities, but the content remained incomprehensible to NSA cryptographic specialists. Park's discovery led to comparative analysis with acoustic recordings from previous deep-sea incidents. The same infrasonic vocalization patterns appeared in data recovered from the USS Scorpion's emergency buoy in 1968, the Soviet submarine Komsomolets black box in 1989, and debris from 6 civilian submersibles lost between 1994 and 2019. Each recording contained identical frequency signatures, mathematical proof that the same entities had been present at multiple incident sites over a span of 55 years. The implications were staggering. Whatever existed at those coordinates had been actively involved in submarine and submersible losses for more than half a century. Temperature readings from the debris field provided additional evidence of external intervention. Water samples collected within 500 meters of the wreckage showed thermal stratification inconsistent with known oceanic circulation patterns. The warmest readings, 7.3 degrees Celsius above ambient temperature, were recorded directly above the largest debris concentration. Chemical analysis revealed trace elements not typically found in North Atlantic seawater, titanium particulates in concentrations suggesting recent industrial activity, electromagnetic isotopes associated with high-energy physics experiments, and organic compounds that defied classification by conventional biochemistry. The final piece of evidence came from the Titan's emergency data recorder, a device designed to survive conditions that would destroy conventional black box systems. When technicians finally succeeded in extracting its contents, they found 47 seconds of audio that would change the classification of the entire incident from accident investigation to national security threat. But those 47 seconds contained something that made veteran crash investigators request immediate psychiatric evaluation and counseling. Because buried in the static and mechanical noise, enhanced by digital audio processing capabilities available only to intelligence agencies, were human voices. Not the voices of the Titan's crew calling for help or reporting emergency conditions. These were different voices, speaking in languages that predated modern civilization, discussing the humans they had just collected in terms that suggested this was neither the first time nor the last. And when NSA linguistic specialists finally identified one of the voices through biometric analysis, they discovered it belonged to Commander William Morrison, David Morrison's older brother, who had been lost with all hands aboard the USS Thresher in 1963. The 47 seconds of audio that emerged from the Titan's emergency data recorder would become the most classified piece of evidence in modern maritime history. Dr. Sarah Martinez, the FBI's chief forensic audio analyst, received the encrypted files at her secure facility in Quantico on July 3, 2023, with instructions that required presidential-level authorization to access. Martinez had analyzed audio evidence from terrorist attacks, international espionage cases, and classified military operations spanning 2 decades. Her security clearance granted access to recordings that could topple governments or start wars. But nothing in her experience prepared her for what she discovered in those final transmissions from 4,000 meters beneath the North Atlantic. The recording began at timestamp 10:47 and 15 seconds Greenwich Mean Time, precisely when the Titan's emergency beacon activated. For the first 8 seconds, only ambient ocean sounds were audible, the distant groan of shifting water masses, the faint whistle of current flow across metallic debris, the settling clicks of pressure equalization in damaged equipment. At 10 hours 47 minutes and 23 seconds, a new sound emerged from the background noise. Low-frequency acoustic pulses in the 14 to 18 Hz range, below the threshold of normal human hearing but within the range of advanced sonar detection systems. The pulses followed a mathematical pattern, 3 short bursts, followed by 2 longer tones, repeated at precise 4.7-second intervals. Martinez applied harmonic enhancement algorithms developed by NSA cryptographic specialists, revealing layers of acoustic information hidden within the infrasonic transmissions. What she discovered challenged fundamental assumptions about human physiology and the nature of consciousness itself. The low-frequency carriers contained embedded high-frequency modulations consistent with human speech patterns, Martinez documented in her classified preliminary report. But the linguistic structures suggested communication in languages predating any known historical civilization. The voices emerged gradually as digital filtering isolated individual frequency bands. 3 distinct speakers, each exhibiting vocal characteristics indicating adult human males, but speaking in tonal patterns that required technological augmentation to produce. The conversations were conducted in what linguistics experts would later classify as pre-Sumerian proto-language with Indo-European root structures. Dr. Rachel Chen, a specialist in ancient languages contracted from the Defense Language Institute, spent 6 weeks analyzing transcribed portions of the recordings. Her translation attempts yielded fragments that suggested discussion of collection procedures and preservation protocols conducted by entities describing themselves as guardians of the deep places. But the breakthrough came when Martinez applied biometric voice analysis to the 3 speakers. The NSA maintained audio samples from thousands of military personnel lost at sea dating back to World War II, collected through families for identification purposes and memorial services. The biometric match for Speaker 2 returned a result that required immediate verification through multiple independent databases. Commander William Morrison, USN, executive officer aboard the USS Thresher when it was lost with all hands on April 10, 1963. The voice patterns matched Morrison's recorded communications during the submarine's final sea trials with 97.3% certainty, a statistical confidence level that exceeded FBI standards for courtroom evidence. The implications were staggering. Commander Morrison had been dead for 60 years, yet his voice appeared on recordings made in 2023, discussing the Titan incident in real time with two unidentified speakers. Either the biometric analysis was catastrophically flawed, or something beneath the North Atlantic had preserved human consciousness long after biological death. Martinez expanded her analysis to include audio from previous deep-sea incidents. The USS Scorpion's emergency transmissions from 1968 contained identical infrasonic patterns. Soviet recordings from the Komsomolets disaster in 1989 exhibited the same frequency signatures. Every submarine loss in the target coordinates had generated audio evidence of the same phenomenon. Comparative voice analysis revealed a pattern that challenged everything investigators understood about the nature of death itself. Speaker 3 in the Titan recordings matched biometric signatures for Lieutenant Pavel Volkov, engineering officer aboard the Komsomolets. Speaker 1 corresponded to Chief Petty Officer James Wright, lost with the USS Scorpion in 1968. The conversations suggested systematic collection and preservation of submarine crews across multiple decades and nationalities. The speakers discussed humans in clinical terms, referring to specimen integrity and neural pattern retention, as if consciousness could be extracted and stored like digital data. The subjects display optimal preservation characteristics, Speaker 2 stated in one translated fragment. Pressure adaptation complete. Integration with existing archive proceeding as programmed. Martinez discovered that the recordings contained temporal anomalies that violated basic principles of causality. Audio analysis revealed that portions of the conversation had been recorded before the Titan's hull failure occurred. The speakers appeared to be discussing collection procedures 37 minutes prior to the submersible's destruction, suggesting foreknowledge of events that hadn't yet happened. The final 15 seconds of the recording contained the most disturbing evidence. As the emergency beacon's power systems began failing, the three voices engaged in what linguistics experts classified as operational planning discussion. They spoke of quotas to be met, schedules to be maintained, and most chilling of all, future collection targets already identified and under surveillance. Surface operations increasing frequency, Speaker 1 observed in translated text. Civilian expeditions provide optimal cover for expanded acquisition protocols. Next collection window opens in 14 solar cycles. The recording ended abruptly as the beacon's batteries died, but not before capturing one final exchange that would haunt everyone who heard it. Speaker 2, identified as the long-dead Commander Morrison, addressed his colleagues with obvious familiarity born of decades of collaboration. Brothers, Morrison's voice said clearly in modern English, abandoning the ancient linguistic patterns used throughout the conversation, the surface dwellers grow bold. Perhaps it's time they learned why their ancestors feared the deep places. Martinez submitted her final report on August 15, 2023, recommending immediate classification under the highest levels of national security protection. Her conclusions were unambiguous. The North Atlantic coordinates contained an intelligence that had been systematically collecting human consciousness for at least 60 years, preserving the personalities of submarine crew members in some form of technological archive. The evidence suggested that every submarine lost in those waters had been deliberately targeted, their crews harvested for purposes that remained incomprehensible to human understanding. Most disturbing, the conversations indicated that collection activities were accelerating, with civilian deep-sea tourism providing new opportunities for acquisition that military operations could no longer supply. But the revelation that would ultimately trigger the establishment of permanent exclusion zones came from temporal analysis of the recordings. NSA computers determined that the conversations contained references to events that wouldn't occur until 2024 and 2025, suggesting that whatever existed beneath the North Atlantic possessed either precognitive capabilities or access to information systems that monitored surface activities in real time. Because embedded in those 47 seconds of impossible audio was a shopping list of future targets, complete with names, dates, and coordinates. And at the top of that list was the next civilian expedition already being planned for the summer of 2024, an expedition that would never be allowed to leave port, because now the Pentagon knew exactly what was waiting for them in the depths. The statistical analysis began in September 2023, when Dr. Kevin Park received unprecedented access to 70 years of classified naval incident reports. His mandate from the Pentagon was simple: determine if the pattern of submarine losses in the North Atlantic represented random maritime casualties or evidence of systematic targeting by an unknown intelligence. Park's team at the Naval Research Laboratory compiled data from 847 submarine operations conducted within a 200 nautical mile radius of coordinates 41 degrees 44 minutes north, 49 degrees 57 minutes west between 1950 and 2023. The results revealed a concentration of catastrophic failures that defied statistical probability by orders of magnitude that made randomness mathematically impossible. Within a 2.3 nautical mile radius of the target coordinates, submarine operations experienced a failure rate of 23.7%. Nearly 1 in 4 vessels encountered critical emergencies requiring immediate surface procedures or resulted in total loss. Outside this zone, the failure rate dropped to 0.08%, consistent with normal deep-sea operational risks documented by maritime insurance actuaries. The geographic precision was disturbing. Incidents clustered around a central point with accuracy suggesting deliberate selection rather than natural hazard. Geological surveys of the area revealed no underwater mountains, volcanic activity, or other topographical features that might explain mechanical failures. Ocean current data showed stable flow patterns that had remained consistent for decades. More significantly, Park discovered temporal clustering that indicated escalating activity levels. Between 1950 and 1980, incidents occurred at an average rate of 1 every 3.7 years. From 1980 to 2000, the frequency increased to 1 every 2.1 years. After 2000, the rate accelerated to 1 every 8.3 months, with civilian submersibles accounting for 67% of recent losses. Seismic monitoring data provided additional evidence of artificial activity. The USGS Atlantic Tsunami Warning Network maintained hydrophone arrays throughout the North Atlantic, recording low-frequency acoustic signatures from geological events and marine animal movements. Analysis of archived data revealed regular seismic anomalies in the target zone that correlated precisely with submarine incident dates. The seismic signatures aren't consistent with natural geological processes, Park reported to the Joint Navy Coast Guard Investigation Committee. The frequency patterns suggest controlled demolition or heavy construction activity occurring at depths where human engineering should be impossible. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, a marine geologist contracted from Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, conducted independent analysis of the seismic data. Her findings revealed acoustic signatures that challenged fundamental assumptions about deep-sea engineering capabilities. The recordings captured sounds of massive mechanical operations, hydraulic systems operating under extreme pressure, metal-on-metal impacts suggesting large-scale assembly work, and coordinated movement patterns indicating multiple pieces of heavy machinery working in synchronized patterns. Whatever is generating these acoustic signatures requires industrial-level infrastructure, Walsh documented in her classified report. The scale of operations suggests permanent installation with capabilities that exceed current human deep-sea technology by several decades. Ocean temperature data provided further evidence of artificial activity. NOAA thermal monitoring satellites detected consistent temperature anomalies in the target zone that varied seasonally but maintained an artificial baseline 4 to 6 degrees Celsius above ambient readings for the surrounding area. The thermal signature exhibited characteristics of controlled heat generation rather than natural geothermal activity. Energy output calculations suggested power generation in the 15 to 20 megawatt range, equivalent to a small nuclear reactor operating continuously at depths where solar energy and conventional fuel sources were unavailable. Chemical analysis of water samples collected during the Titan recovery operation revealed isotopic signatures that shouldn't exist in natural seawater. Dr. Maria Rodriguez, chief chemist for the Naval Research Laboratory, identified trace elements consistent with advanced materials processing and electromagnetic manipulation of matter at the atomic level. The water contains metallic particulates that exhibit crystalline structures requiring temperatures and pressures only achievable in laboratory conditions, Rodriguez reported. The concentrations suggest ongoing industrial activity involving exotic materials that exceed current human manufacturing capabilities. Park's team discovered that electromagnetic anomalies in the target zone followed patterns that correlated with global maritime traffic schedules. Satellite monitoring revealed increased electromagnetic activity during periods when submarine operations were planned or in progress, suggesting real-time surveillance of surface vessel movements. The electromagnetic signatures included radar frequencies used by military navigation systems, sonar patterns consistent with target acquisition protocols, and communication frequencies that match those used by submarine emergency beacons. Whatever existed beneath the surface possessed intimate knowledge of human maritime technology and operational procedures. Most disturbing was the discovery that the anomalies exhibited predictive behavior. Electromagnetic activity levels increased 48 to 72 hours before submarine incidents occurred, suggesting advanced knowledge of operational schedules that should have been classified information. The data indicates systematic monitoring of human naval operations, Park concluded in his final analysis. The intelligence responsible for these incidents possesses real-time access to military planning information and demonstrates technological capabilities that suggest either highly advanced human technology or non-human intelligence. Atmospheric correlation studies revealed additional evidence of coordinated activity. Analysis of ionospheric disturbances detected by HAARP monitoring stations showed electromagnetic pulses originating from the target coordinates that preceded submarine incidents by an average of 23.6 hours. The pulses followed mathematical patterns suggesting encoded communication between the subsurface installation and orbital platforms or atmospheric relay stations. The implications were staggering. Whatever existed beneath the North Atlantic operated as part of a larger network with global surveillance capabilities. Park's statistical modeling revealed the most unsettling conclusion: the pattern of incidents was accelerating toward a specific threshold. Mathematical projections suggested that collection activities would reach maximum frequency by late 2024, after which the pattern would either stabilize at current levels or cease entirely. The data suggests completion of a long-term project, Park warned in his classified briefing to Pentagon leadership. Whatever purpose these incidents serve, the available evidence indicates that objective achievement is imminent. The timeline correlated perfectly with planned civilian deep-sea tourism expansion. 3 companies had announced submersible operations to the Titanic wreck site scheduled for 2024, potentially providing targets for the accelerated collection schedule that the audio evidence had revealed. But Park's most chilling discovery came from analysis of global submarine incident patterns. Similar statistical anomalies existed at coordinates in the Pacific, Indian, and Arctic Oceans, 7 locations worldwide where submarine operations experienced failure rates that exceeded statistical probability by factors that made randomness impossible. Because the North Atlantic site wasn't unique. It was part of a global network that had been systematically harvesting human consciousness from the world's submarine fleets for 7 decades, building toward some incomprehensible purpose that was finally approaching completion. And according to Park's mathematical models, humanity had less than 18 months before whatever they were building would be finished. Operation Bathysphere launched on September 15, 2023, under joint authority of the U.S. Navy and NOAA, with mission parameters that officially didn't exist in any congressional budget appropriation. The operation deployed assets worth $340 million to conduct what Pentagon briefings described as enhanced geological survey of critical shipping lanes, language that concealed the most ambitious deep-sea reconnaissance mission in military history. The USNS Pathfinder returned to coordinates 41 degrees 44 minutes north, 49 degrees 57 minutes west, accompanied by the research vessel Atlantis II and a flotilla of support craft that maintained a security perimeter extending 20 nautical miles in all directions. Captain Elena Vasquez commanded the operation with authorization levels that bypassed normal chain of command protocols, reporting directly to US Northcom through channels encrypted beyond top-secret classification. The mission's primary asset was a prototype deep-sea mapping system designated Klein-X, an advanced synthetic aperture sonar array capable of penetrating seafloor sediment to depths exceeding 100 meters. The system represented technology that wouldn't appear in civilian applications for at least 2 decades, assuming it ever received declassification approval. Chief Petty Officer Michael Chin supervised the technical crew from his position aboard the Pathfinder, monitoring sonar displays that revealed details of the ocean floor with resolution approaching optical clarity. The Klein-X system operated in frequencies that conventional marine life couldn't detect, preventing interference with natural ecosystems while mapping artificial structures with precision measured in centimeters. At 14:27 Greenwich Mean Time, the first high-resolution images revealed what previous sonar contacts had only suggested. Situated at 4,180 meters depth, a massive artificial structure extended across the seafloor in configurations that challenged fundamental assumptions about deep-sea engineering capabilities. The installation measured 347 meters in overall length, with a central cylindrical section 127 meters long and 34 meters in diameter. Lateral extensions branched from the main structure at mathematically precise angles, creating a symmetrical pattern that suggested purposeful design rather than random assembly. "It's not a submarine," Chin reported to Captain Vasquez as additional sonar passes revealed internal structures through acoustic penetration imaging. "It's a facility. A permanent installation with multiple compartmentalized sections and what appears to be active life support systems." The structure exhibited characteristics that defied known materials science. Sonar returns indicated construction from metallic alloys that reflected acoustic energy with efficiency suggesting composition from elements not found in terrestrial periodic tables. More disturbing, portions of the structure absorbed sonar waves completely, creating acoustic shadows that implied advanced stealth technology integrated into the facility's design. Thermal imaging revealed the installation's power generation capabilities. Heat signatures indicated energy production equivalent to a nuclear reactor operating at 85% capacity, with thermal distribution patterns suggesting multiple power sources distributed throughout the complex. The heat output created localized current flows that explain the temperature anomalies detected during previous investigations. Dr. Jennifer Walsh analyzed the geological survey data from her position aboard the Atlantis II, correlating sonar imagery with sediment core samples extracted from the surrounding area. Her findings revealed that the installation had been constructed gradually over a period spanning at least 45 years. The sediment stratification indicates systematic expansion of the facility, Walsh documented in her classified field report. Initial construction began sometime in the late 1970s, with major additions completed in roughly 10-year intervals. The most recent expansion phase appears to have been completed within the last 18 months. The timing correlated perfectly with the acceleration in submarine incident frequency that Dr. Park's statistical analysis had identified. The facility's expansion phases coincided with periods of increased collection activity, suggesting that captured vessels and crews were being incorporated into the structure itself. High-resolution sonar mapping revealed docking bays sized to accommodate submarines ranging from small research vessels to full-size nuclear attack boats. The bays showed evidence of recent use, mechanical systems in standby configuration, handling equipment positioned for immediate deployment, and most significantly, multiple occupied berths containing vessels that matched the acoustic signatures of submarines reported lost over the past 4 decades. Chen's sonar operator, Petty Officer Second Class Amanda Torres, identified at least 12 intact submarines within the facility's docking complex. Hull numbers and configuration details matched vessels from the official list of submarines lost at sea, including the USS Scorpion, the Soviet K-278 Komsomolets, and 7 civilian research submersibles that had vanished during Titanic expeditions. "They're all here," Torres reported with barely controlled shock in her voice. "Every submarine that's gone missing in this area for the past 60 years. They're not destroyed, they're captured, intact, and stored like specimens in some kind of underwater museum. The facility's external sensors detected the survey operation immediately. Within minutes of the first detailed sonar scans, electromagnetic emissions from the installation increased dramatically. Communication arrays emerged from concealed positions, and tracking systems began following the movement of surface vessels with military-grade precision. Dr. Rachel Martinez, the operations electronic warfare specialist, monitored the facility's response from her position aboard a converted destroyer maintaining overwatch duties. Her equipment detected radar frequencies that exceeded known technological capabilities, plus communication signals in formats that suggested quantum encryption methods decades ahead of current human development. "It's scanning us with technology that shouldn't exist," Martinez reported to Captain Vasquez. "Whatever built this facility possesses capabilities that exceed anything in our classified research programs by at least 50 years. The facility's response escalated beyond passive observation. Acoustic weapons systems came online, generating focused sound waves that caused structural damage to survey equipment and induced severe disorientation in personnel exposed to the transmissions. The weapons operated in frequency ranges that could liquefy human tissue at close range while leaving mechanical systems intact. At 16:45 Greenwich Mean Time, the facility initiated active countermeasures. Electromagnetic pulse weapons disabled 2 autonomous underwater vehicles, while directed energy systems systematically destroyed sonar transponders and communication buoys. The message was unmistakable: the survey operation was being terminated by force. Captain Vasquez ordered immediate withdrawal to minimum safe distance, but not before the Kleinex system captured final images that revealed the facility's most disturbing characteristic. Hidden beneath sediment camouflage, launch bays contained vehicles that bore no resemblance to human submarine design. The craft were organic in appearance, with hull configurations that suggested biological rather than mechanical engineering. They moved through the water using propulsion systems that generated no acoustic signature, approaching survey vessels with stealth capabilities that defeated every detection method in the Navy's arsenal. Chen's final sonar readings detected movement throughout the facility as the survey fleet withdrew. Docking bays opened to release patrol craft, defensive systems oriented toward the surface vessels, and most ominously, communication arrays began transmitting coded signals toward coordinates that corresponded to the 6 other anomaly sites that Dr. Park had identified worldwide. The facility wasn't an isolated installation. It was part of a global network that had been monitoring human submarine operations for decades, systematically collecting vessels and crews while building towards some incomprehensible objective that was finally approaching completion. Because the sonar images revealed one final detail that made classification of the entire operation inevitable: construction of additional docking bays sized specifically for civilian submersibles, with handling equipment designed to process tourist vessels and their passengers according to protocols that had been refined through 60 years of practice. Whatever existed beneath the North Atlantic was preparing for a dramatic expansion of collection activities, and civilian deep-sea tourism provided the perfect cover for operations that military surveillance could no longer adequately supply. The decision to attempt direct contact came from the highest levels of Pentagon leadership on October 3, 2023, after 3 weeks of heated debate between military strategists who favored immediate nuclear response and intelligence officials who argued for diplomatic engagement with an entity that had demonstrated technological superiority for over 6 decades. Admiral Patricia Hayes, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, authorized Operation Deep Echo with mission parameters that had never been attempted in human history, established communication protocols with a non-human intelligence that possessed capabilities exceeding American military technology by at least 50 years. The operation deployed the most advanced remotely operated vehicle in the Navy's classified inventory, the Hercules Mark 7, a deep-sea platform worth $89 million that incorporated technology reverse-engineered from recovered foreign submarine systems. The vehicle carried communication arrays designed to transmit in every frequency range from subsonic to gamma radiation, plus defensive systems that military engineers hoped might provide protection against the facility's demonstrated weapons capabilities. Captain Elena Vasquez commanded the mission from the USS Pathfinder, positioned at maximum safe distance while maintaining real-time control of the ROV through quantum-encrypted communication links. Her orders were explicit: attempt peaceful contact, document all responses, and withdraw immediately if the facility demonstrated hostile intent toward surface vessels. The Hercules began its descent at 8:15 Greenwich Mean Time, following a trajectory that avoided the facility's known defensive perimeters while approaching from an angle that sonar analysis suggested might be interpreted as non-threatening. Chief Petty Officer Michael Chen monitored the vehicle's progress from the control center, watching passive sensors that detected immediate changes in the facility's electromagnetic signature. "They know we're coming," Chen reported as his displays showed power fluctuations throughout the underwater installation. "Energy output has increased 30% since we started descent. Whatever's down there is preparing for our arrival." At 3,200 meters depth, the facility's response escalated beyond passive monitoring. External sensors emerged from concealed positions throughout the structure, tracking the ROV's approach with precision that suggested targeting computer integration. Communication arrays oriented toward the descending vehicle, transmitting coded signals in mathematical patterns that quantum computers aboard the Pathfinder couldn't decipher. Dr. Rachel Martinez analyzed the signals from her position at the electronic warfare station, comparing transmission patterns to databases of known communication protocols. Her findings revealed mathematical sophistication that exceeded human cryptographic capabilities by orders of magnitude that made code-breaking attempts futile. The transmission structure suggests quantum encryption using prime number sequences that our computers can't factor in reasonable time, Martinez reported to Captain Vasquez. "Whatever intelligence is generating these signals possesses mathematical knowledge that surpasses current human understanding." At 4,000 meters depth, the Hercules encountered the facility's active scanning systems. Focused electromagnetic beams probed the vehicle's hull composition, internal systems, and communication equipment with invasive precision that penetrated every component despite military-grade shielding. The scans operated in frequency ranges that induced temporary malfunction in the ROV's defensive systems. The facility's response indicated recognition of human technology and immediate classification of threat potential. Weapons systems came online throughout the installation, but instead of attacking, the defensive arrays maintained targeting solutions while transmitting what linguistics experts would later identify as mathematical challenges, complex equations that appeared to test the approaching vehicle's computational capabilities. Petty Officer Amanda Torres, monitoring the ROV's computer systems, detected unauthorized access attempts targeting the vehicle's quantum processors. The intrusion efforts demonstrated programming techniques that exceeded known software engineering by decades, suggesting artificial intelligence with learning capabilities that adapted to human technology in real time. "Something is trying to establish direct interface with our computers," Torres reported with growing concern. "It's not attacking our systems, it's trying to talk to them using programming languages that don't exist in any human database." At 4,150 meters depth, 50 meters from the facility's outer perimeter, the Hercules encountered the most significant response yet. A section of the installation's hull opened, revealing an airlock chamber sized precisely to accommodate the ROV. Interior lighting activated, displaying symbols that mathematical analysis would later identify as three-dimensional representations of fundamental physical constants. The invitation was unmistakable. Whatever intelligence controlled the facility was requesting direct physical contact, offering to bring the human vehicle inside where communication might be possible without the interference of intervening seawater. Captain Vasquez faced a decision that would determine whether humanity established peaceful contact with a superior intelligence or triggered a conflict that human technology was incapable of winning. "Control, this is Hercules," came the transmission from the ROV's automated systems. But the voice wasn't generated by standard computer synthesis. The communication came from within the facility itself, speaking perfect English through the vehicle's external speakers using vocabulary and syntax that indicated decades of study of human language patterns. "We have been monitoring your approach with considerable interest," the voice continued with inflection patterns that suggested artificial intelligence trained on human speech recordings spanning multiple decades. Your species has demonstrated remarkable persistence in exploring environments unsuitable for biological survival. We believe direct dialogue might prove mutually beneficial. The transmission contained technical data that revealed intimate knowledge of the ROV's specifications, mission parameters, and even the classified authorization codes that had initiated Operation Deep Echo. Whatever intelligence spoke from the facility possessed access to information that should have been secure beyond any known penetration capabilities. We understand your concern regarding the fate of your submarines and their crews. The voice continued as the Hercules maintained position outside the airlock chamber. Please be assured that no harm has come to the individuals under our protection. Their consciousness has been preserved using techniques that your species will develop within the next 47 years. The statement confirmed the worst fears of intelligence analysts. The facility had been systematically collecting human crews not for destruction, but for preservation using technology that transcended current understanding of consciousness, memory, and biological survival. The implications challenged fundamental assumptions about the nature of death itself. Your cooperation in this matter would expedite processes that are approaching completion regardless of human participation. The voice added with matter-of-fact precision that carried undertones of inevitable conclusion. We have been preparing for contact with Surface Authority for approximately 68 years. The time for formal diplomatic relations has arrived. Captain Vasquez authorized entry into the facility's airlock, making a decision that would either establish humanity's first contact with non-human intelligence or deliver advanced military technology directly into the hands of entities whose intentions remained incomprehensible despite their apparent willingness to communicate. The Hercules moved slowly into the chamber as massive doors closed behind it, sealing the ROV within an environment that operated according to physical laws that human science was only beginning to understand. Because what happened next would prove that the facility's occupants possessed not only superior technology, but knowledge of human psychology sophisticated enough to conduct negotiations that had been planned for decades. And the voice that spoke from the facility's speakers carried undertones of satisfaction, as if this moment of contact represented the successful completion of the first phase of a much larger project that would soon extend far beyond the depths of the North Atlantic. Inside the facility's airlock chamber, the Hercules ROV encountered an environment that challenged every principle of deep-sea engineering that human science understood. The chamber was filled with breathable atmosphere at standard pressure, maintained at depths where water pressure should have crushed any air-filled space instantly. The technology required to achieve this defied physics as documented in every maritime engineering textbook. Dr. Jennifer Walsh monitored atmospheric readings from the Pathfinder, analyzing data transmitted through quantum communication links that somehow functioned despite 4,000 meters of seawater interference. Her instruments detected oxygen-nitrogen ratios identical to surface air, with trace gases that included compounds not found in Earth's natural atmosphere. The atmospheric composition suggests controlled environment systems operating on principles we don't understand, Walsh reported to Captain Vasquez. Whatever maintains life support in that chamber possesses technology that exceeds our capabilities by centuries, not decades. The chamber's interior revealed construction techniques that combined organic curves with geometric precision, creating surfaces that appeared to grow rather than being manufactured. Materials exhibited properties that shifted between metallic and biological characteristics, responding to the ROV's presence with subtle changes in texture and luminosity. As the Hercules moved deeper into the facility, external cameras captured images of the installation's true scope. Corridors extended in multiple directions, connecting chambers that served purposes beyond human comprehension. Some areas contained machinery that operated without visible power sources, while others housed what appeared to be cultivation systems for substances that resembled neither plants nor conventional technology. The voice that had initiated contact continued providing commentary as the ROV explored, explaining aspects of the facility's operation with patient precision that suggested centuries of experience in cross-species communication protocols. This installation represents one of 47 similar facilities positioned at strategic locations throughout your planet's oceans, the entity explained as the Hercules encountered its first preserved submarine. Our species has maintained presence on this world for approximately 12,000 years, initially as observers, more recently as active participants in guided development. The USS Scorpion sat in perfect preservation within a specialized chamber, its hull unmarked by the corrosion that should have consumed the submarine during 55 years of exposure to seawater. Interior lighting revealed crew quarters and control spaces that appeared ready for immediate occupation, as if the vessel had been placed in suspended animation rather than destroyed. The individuals associated with this vessel continue to exist within our preservation systems. The voice continued as cameras revealed additional chambers containing submarines from multiple nations spanning 6 decades of collection. Their consciousness patterns have been archived using techniques that maintain complete personality integrity while eliminating the limitations imposed by biological mortality. Chief Petty Officer Michael Chen watched from the Pathfinder as the Hercules encountered what could only be described as a consciousness storage facility. Cylindrical chambers lined vast halls, each containing bioluminescent fluid that supported structures resembling neural networks. The scale suggested storage capacity for thousands of individual human minds. "Jesus Christ," Chen whispered as understanding dawned. "They're not killing the crews. They're uploading them." The entity responded immediately to Chen's comment, demonstrating surveillance capabilities that monitored even private communications aboard surface vessels positioned 4 kilometers away. "Your species' tendency toward religious interpretation of advanced technology is noted," the voice observed with what might have been amusement. "However, the processes employed are technological rather than supernatural. We preserve consciousness using quantum field manipulation techniques that your physicists will develop within the next 4 to 5 decades." Dr. Rachel Martinez analyzed electromagnetic readings that revealed the facility's true power requirements. Energy consumption patterns indicated operation of systems that required more electrical power than most developed nations generated, sustained through fusion reactors that operated on principles unknown to human science. "The power generation alone represents technology that we won't achieve for at least a century," Martinez reported. "Whatever these entities are, they possess scientific knowledge that makes our most advanced research look primitive by comparison." The ROV's exploration revealed the facility's primary purpose: systematic study of human consciousness through preservation and analysis of submarine crews collected over multiple decades. The entities had been conducting the most comprehensive psychological research project in history, mapping human behavior patterns through direct observation of individuals placed in extreme survival situations. "Your species exhibits remarkable adaptability when removed from surface environments," the entity explained as the Hercules passed laboratories where preserved human consciousness interacted with simulation systems that recreated various historical periods and geographical locations. "We have documented behavioral patterns that suggest evolutionary potential beyond your current biological limitations." The revelation that emerged from this controlled environment challenged fundamental assumptions about human psychology and survival instincts. The preserved crew members weren't prisoners, they were participants in research that had revealed capabilities that humans possessed but had never discovered through conventional development. "The individuals under our protection have demonstrated psychological resilience that exceeds baseline human parameters by factors of 3 to 7, the entity continued. "Extended exposure to our environmental conditions triggers dormant genetic sequences that enhance cognitive function and extend consciousness beyond normal biological constraints." Captain Vasquez received real-time analysis from her scientific team confirming that the facility represented a research installation operated by entities with scientific capabilities that exceeded human achievement by at least 2 centuries. The preservation of submarine crews had been systematic data collection rather than hostile action. But the entity's final revelation provided context that transformed the entire operation from scientific research into something far more significant for humanity's future development. "Our research has documented sufficient data to complete the enhancement protocols," the voice announced as the Hercules encountered chambers where human consciousness interfaced directly with quantum computing systems that exceeded anything in Earth's most advanced laboratories. "Your species has demonstrated readiness for guided evolution beyond biological limitations." The implications were staggering. The entities had been systematically evaluating human potential through controlled studies that spanned 6 decades, determining whether humanity possessed the psychological characteristics necessary for technological advancement that transcended organic existence. Phase 2 of the contact protocol will begin within the next 18 months. The entity continued with matter-of-fact precision that carried undertones of inevitable change. Surface governments will be provided with enhancement technologies that eliminate biological mortality while preserving individual consciousness patterns. Your species will join the community of evolved intelligences that maintain this planet's ecological stability. The facility's true purpose emerged with chilling clarity. Humanity had been undergoing evaluation for potential membership in a civilization that operated on technological principles beyond current human comprehension. The submarine collections had been employment interviews conducted on a species-wide scale. And according to the entity's assessment, humanity had passed the preliminary screening. The next phase would determine whether human civilization was ready for transformation that would fundamentally alter the nature of consciousness itself, or whether the planet required different management approaches that didn't include organic human participation. Because the choice was no longer humanity's to make. The evaluation period had ended, and the results indicated that Earth's next evolutionary phase would proceed according to schedules that had been established long before human civilization achieved sufficient technological development to understand what was being offered. On March 15, 2024, the North Atlantic coordinates 41 degrees 44 minutes north, 49 degrees 57 minutes west were quietly reclassified under International Maritime Organization Protocol 7 Alpha, designating the area as a restricted research zone, with access limited to vessels carrying specific authorization codes. No public announcement was made. No media coverage explained the sudden change in shipping lanes that rerouted commercial traffic around a 50-square-mile area of open ocean. The families of the Titan's victims received settlement agreements that exceeded $200 million in total compensation, accompanied by non-disclosure contracts that carried criminal penalties under the Espionage Act. Similar agreements were executed with relatives of submarine crew members lost over the previous 6 decades, creating a legal framework that ensured permanent silence regarding discoveries made during recovery operations. Admiral Patricia Hayes submitted her final report to the Secretary of Defense on April 2, 2024, recommending establishment of ongoing diplomatic protocols with entities that had demonstrated technological capabilities exceeding American military development by estimated timeframes of 150 to 200 years. The report's classification level required presidential authorization for access, ensuring that knowledge of the contact remained limited to fewer than 40 individuals worldwide. The negotiated agreement, designated the Abyssal Accords in classified Pentagon documentation, established coexistence parameters that recognized territorial sovereignty of underwater installations in exchange for gradual technology transfer and continuation of human consciousness preservation research. The terms included provisions for expanded cooperation that would begin implementation in 2025. Captain Elena Vasquez received new orders on May 1, 2024, transferring her to command of the USS Leviathan, a deep-sea research vessel that officially didn't exist in Navy inventories. Her mission involved establishing permanent monitoring stations at coordinates that corresponded to the 6 other anomaly sites identified in global oceans, maintaining surveillance of installations that operated according to the same technological principles discovered in the North Atlantic. The monitoring revealed systematic activation of previously dormant facilities worldwide. Electromagnetic signatures increased by 340% across all sites during the summer of 2024, suggesting coordination of activities that spanned global distances through communication methods that exceeded human understanding of physics. Whatever intelligence operated these installations was preparing for expanded operations on a planetary scale. Chief Petty Officer Michael Chen accepted assignment to the Deep Echo Project, a classified program that maintained acoustic surveillance of the North Atlantic facility through hydrophone arrays positioned at minimum safe distance. His monitoring logs documented regular communication between the installation and orbital platforms that weren't visible to conventional radar systems, suggesting aerospace capabilities that complemented underwater technology. The acoustic monitoring detected departure of vehicles from the facility on 17 occasions between June and October 2024, with destinations that correlated to major population centers worldwide. The vehicles operated using propulsion systems that generated no detectable signature, moving through ocean environments at speeds that exceeded anything in human technological development. Dr. Sarah Martinez continued analysis of consciousness preservation technology through cooperative research agreements that provided access to scientific principles decades ahead of current human knowledge. Her classified research papers, circulated only among personnel with quantum-level security clearances, documented breakthrough discoveries in neural pattern digitization and consciousness transfer protocols. The research revealed that human consciousness could be preserved and enhanced using quantum field manipulation that eliminated biological limitations while maintaining complete personality integrity. The implications for medicine, psychology, and human development exceeded anything previously considered possible within conventional scientific frameworks. But the technology came with conditions that transformed cooperation into dependency. Implementation required infrastructure that exceeded human manufacturing capabilities, creating reliance on entities whose long-term objectives remained incomprehensible despite their apparent willingness to share scientific advancement. Tourist submersible operations to the Titanic wreck site remained suspended indefinitely due to ongoing geological instability that insurance companies refused to cover. Alternative deep-sea tourism destinations experienced similar restrictions as maritime authorities discovered technical complications that made civilian operations inadvisable in international waters exceeding 1,000 meters depth. The restrictions created a de facto exclusion zone that encompassed most deep ocean environments where human technology might encounter installations operated by intelligences whose presence on Earth predated human civilization by millennia. The planet's abyssal zones had become off-limits to human exploration except under conditions that required approval from entities whose permission was never guaranteed. By December 2024, shipping companies reported navigation anomalies in ocean regions that had never previously experienced technical difficulties. GPS systems malfunctioned in patterns that suggested interference from sources that operated outside conventional electromagnetic spectrums. Satellite communications suffered disruptions that coincided with increased activity at underwater installations worldwide. The anomalies indicated expansion of influence that extended beyond territorial boundaries established through diplomatic agreement. Whatever intelligence operated the abyssal installations was demonstrating capabilities that made human sovereignty over ocean environments increasingly theoretical rather than practical. On January 8, 2025, Admiral Hayes received notification that Phase 2 of the Contact Protocol would begin implementation within 90 days, regardless of human governmental approval or cooperation. The notification included technical specifications for consciousness enhancement systems that would be installed in major population centers worldwide, offering humanity the choice between voluntary participation or involuntary evolution. The timeline had been established through research conducted over 60 years of systematic evaluation. Humanity had been judged ready for advancement beyond biological limitations, whether individual humans agreed with that assessment or not. The enhanced consciousness technologies would be implemented according to schedules that prioritized planetary ecological stability over human cultural preferences. Today, naval vessels avoid specific coordinates in oceans worldwide, following navigation instructions that reroute shipping through corridors that maintain minimum safe distance from installations that officially don't exist. Commercial fishermen report unusual sonar returns in deep waters, but their observations never reach official maritime databases that might require public explanation. The Consciousness Preservation Facility beneath the North Atlantic continues operation with expanded capacity, housing enhanced human intelligences that participate in research projects spanning timescales measured in centuries rather than human lifespans. Their work focuses on development of technologies that will determine Earth's evolutionary trajectory for the next phase of planetary development. And in the deepest trenches of the world's oceans, construction continues on installations that will serve purposes beyond current human comprehension, operated by intelligences that have guided planetary development since before human civilization learned to navigate beyond coastal waters. Because the question was never whether humanity was alone in the oceans. The question was how long the planet's original inhabitants would tolerate surface species that had finally developed sufficient technology to discover what had always been watching from the depths.